Well, good afternoon, good morning, good night, depending on when you're listening to this podcast. To this YouTube video. Today, we're going to be talking about the Galveston hurricane of 1900. Devastating hurricane, 1,200 people died in this. And I'm going to try to give you my best take on it. Um, so, I didn't use a lot of the book. I've just used like common knowledge I have from over the years. Um, First thing that we have to do our questions. So first off, from CNN 10, who went to the Georgia Aquarium? Number two, what department of Texas oversees banks in Texas? Number three, what was the first industry in Texas? Number four, what did Texas make during the Civil War? And finally, what was the biggest industry in Texas? And there I have a slide of a hotel that was on the coast of Galveston. This predates uh, the wall that's there now. So the Galveston hurricane. Okay, so let's remember this is 1900. There is no radar, there's no forecast models. The only way people kind of knew if a hurricane was coming is if a ship came in and said we passed through a very bad storm. Galveston is and was a barrier island. It was flat and one could see the sea from the opposite side of the island. So you could enter on what we would consider the north side of the island, and you could actually look across it and see the sea, which you can't do today. Um, there was no indication that a hurricane was coming. There was one ship that came in, said that it had passed through a very bad storm, but that was it. So we go back to the primary sources, which are the Jesuit missionaries, their diaries, and they indicate that before the hurricane hit, that water was actually going from the north side of the island to the south side of the island. So it was actually traveling back. And whenever an incident like that happens, that means that there's going to be a tidal surge or a tidal wave. Um, if you're ever anywhere, I don't know if you saw that show 911 where they had the tidal wave that hit the coast. Whenever there's a tidal wave, water completely drains out, and then all of a sudden you get hit with this huge wave. Um, the island was hit with a massive tidal wave. Okay, the just to give you, for instance, the Sisters of Charity convent and orphanage was totally destroyed with everyone that was living there died. Okay, Dominican sister at the Sacred Heart Church allowed herself to have a rope tied around her, and she was thrown out into the water because the water was really high. We know this from our own hurricanes, how they can be like 5, 6, 7, 8 feet of water, right? She allowed herself to be thrown into the water, and she would catch people as they were being drawn out to sea. Because if you think about the Japanese, they don't call them hurricanes, but if you think about the Japanese one, Um, that one actually, like, it took cars and everybody out to sea. So this the waves and stuff were just taking people out to sea, and she was trying to catch as many people as she could and save them. Um, so what happened as a result of that? Well, the biggest result was that the city structure of Galveston changed. So it's no longer councilmen with different areas and a mayor. uh, it became what we call a city manager style. So instead of a mayor, they have a city manager, and they have departments like the water department, the fire department, the police department, rather than a city council. The seawall was constructed. It's 17 feet high. Um, I don't know why. Every time I go to Galveston and I see the seawall, it looks shorter to me. I don't know if it's because sand is building up or whatever. Um, and the entire island was raised. So every building on the island was raised. Now, some were just raised about 4 or 5 feet, some of them closer to um, the seawall were raised actually 17 feet. And they did this by what's called a screw. And these screws were put at the critical corners of the building, critical areas of the building, and then they all had to be turned at the same time so that the building raised at the exact same level at the same time. And then they put dirt and sand underneath that so that the building would actually be taller than what it was. And as I told you, the most devastating thing was the fact that 12, I said 1,200, but it's actually 12,000 people died in the hurricane. And so you see the construction of the seawall right there. If you want more information about Galveston, I have a YouTube video. It's number A003. I tried to put the link, but the stuff didn't come out right. So just you go to my channel and you put A003, it'll come up. And it shows the Bishop's Palace. This is one of the few buildings that survived the hurricane. So the people that were inside this building actually were saved during the Galveston hurricane. So, hey guys, don't forget to do my questions. Email me back at cbaldwin@sacbstx.org.